Okay, hopefully I have everything on correctly. This week I'm going to look at two songs, one by Lyle Lovett called She's No Lady, and one that I've been trying to get to by Carly Simon called Coming Around Again. They're both pretty easy, so if you're a beginner, these would be two nice ones for you to try. Okay, I'll start with the She's No Lady. And I apologize to anyone seeing this in the smaller vertical mobile format. I need to figure out how to shift my camera next time. I'll try and focus more on the fretboard so you can see what I'm referring to. But I'll be sure and mention where I'm placing my fingers. I think usually you'll hear people say, call that what is being fretted. So this one starts in, it looks like it's in G. The first note is a standard G. So, and I'm left-handed, by the way. So if you're right-handed, think in terms of mirroring me. A G, a standard G, your index finger is going to press down on the second string from the top on the second fret. Your second finger is going to press down on the top string on the third fret, which is why it's a G. And then whichever finger makes sense for you, I usually use my pinky, bottom string, also on the third fret. That's a standard G. The next chord they show is a G/B. When you see a /B, they're letting you know they've changed the root of the chord. So whatever comes after the slash, that's the root that they're using. So a G/B is easy. All you do is you lift up your second finger and you try to avoid playing the top string. And that's why it's now a G/B, because now, since I still have my index finger down, I'm still fretting the second fret of the second string, which is the A string, but since I'm fretting the second fret, that bumps it up to a B and gives you the G/B. The next chord is a standard A minor. So an A would be the first three fingers on your hand, index, second finger, and ring finger, all fretting on the second fret, starting at the third string down on the D string and going all the way to the bottom string. But the reason it's an A is you include that open A string. So that's a standard A. But we're going to make it a minor. So instead of playing this next to the bottom string on the second fret, it's going to get moved up. And so for an A minor, you're going to play the next to the bottom string with your index finger, and then you're still going to fret the first two strings above that I had mentioned before. So the only thing that has happened is of these original three for A, it's moved up one fret, but the two above it stay where they were. It's easier to change what fingers you're using just because it's easier to put your index finger down on that first one on the bottom. But you still include the top string, so it's an A minor. They next show a C/D. And same story about what the /D means here. And sorry, I just want to make sure that mic's on. This one's easy. The way I'm sure there's different versions of it, but the one they're using here is they're literally using that same starting position we just used for A minor. Your index finger is on the next to the bottom string on the first fret, and then they're playing all with the two top strings. So leave out the two top strings and they're playing everything open, which makes sense as to why it's /D, because that first one you start with is an open D string. Then they go back to the standard G we just saw. Then the G/B. Oops, I caught the top string. You want to leave that on. Then the A minor we just saw. C/D. G again. Then they have a new one, B flat minor. So same story. This would be B. To make it a B minor, you literally, if you think about it, we're using the same shape we were using for A minor, but all you're doing is you're shifting that up and positioning it. Instead of them being on the first and second frets, they end up on the third and fourth frets, that same exact shape. And you use your index finger to bar the entire second fret except for the top string. So it bumps it up from A minor to a B minor. But this is B minor flat, and anytime you see a flat on a standard chord shape, all you have to do is shift it. Usually, all you have to do is shift it down one fret. If it was sharp, you'd go up one fret. Then back to A minor, and then G, C/D. Then they show G7. This is kind of a standard chord. So first is your index finger on the very bottom first fret, bottom string on the first fret. Your ring finger is going to grab the very top string on the third fret, and then your second finger is going to grab the next to top string on the second fret, and you play all the way down. That's G7. Let's see. I'm just scanning to see if any new chord shapes show up. The entire next page has only the chords we've already discussed. At the top of the third page, and by the way, I'm using sheet music I found on musicnotes.com. I'm not sponsored, but I love their site. I get a lot of my sheet music from there because I like to put them on monitors so I don't have to stop and flip books. The next one on the top of page 3, in case you decide to get your sheet music and follow along, is a D7. So if you think about it, a standard D would be your index finger on the second fret, third string from the bottom, your second finger on the second fret, bottom string, and then your ring finger usually would grab the third fret, second string on the bottom, and you would include the open D string. That's a standard D. But at D7, that middle part gets flipped. The first two that I mentioned on the second fret stay where they were, but that middle string goes from being, here I'll play it with my pinky, goes from being on the third fret to using your index finger to play it on the first fret. And it just makes it a little higher pitch sound. Let's see. Are there any other new chords? Okay, there are two here. I'm now at the bottom of page 4. I'm skipping big chunks for now because a lot of the chords I'm seeing are ones we've already seen once or twice. On the bottom of page 3, I tend to count off what's in the PDF, but the physical sheet number is page 3. At the bottom, there's 3 new ones that show up. I'll start at the beginning of that line. So the very first one's G7 that we just saw. They then play a different version of G7 because they're playing it sharp. So they're now playing G7, G sharp 7. So this would be the G7. Same story as the B before. So you're going to use your index finger to bar, this time the entire fret, because you want to grab that top string. If it was G7, you would do that. Then you would use your ring finger to grab the next to the top string on the 5th fret and the third from the bottom string on the 4th fret. that would be a G7. But like I mentioned before, if you want flat, you go down a fret. If you want sharp, you go up a fret. So you just take that shape and shift it up one fret, and that's our G sharp 7. Now they're showing one called G6. And this one, they're showing the top string on the 3rd fret. So I'll try using the normal finger I might use for the G7 on that. And they're showing the next to the top string on the, oh, I'm sorry, I'm too high. I meant to be on the 3rd fret. So ring finger on the top string on the 3rd fret, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret, 2nd to the top string, and then everything below there you play open. So it looks like it's almost a G7. You're just lifting up your index finger. Okay, this one's a little different. It's called a D flat 7 flat 5. So it's going to be less than easy. So I'll try and start where it makes sense. So I'm going to start with, I may have to take 2 tries to figure out what fingers work where. I'm going to start by trying my 2nd finger on the bottom string of the 3rd fret, my index finger on the next to bottom string on the 2nd fret. And then that will free up my ring finger for the 3rd from the top string on the 3rd fret, and my pinky for the 4th fret, 3rd string from the bottom. So ring fingers, 3rd string from the top, 4th fret, and pinky is 3rd string from the bottom, 5th fret. And then you play everything but the top 2 strings. That one's going to be a little tricky, so I'll have to work on that. But I think that's the easiest way to grab that one. And then they show a standard C, which we haven't talked about yet, but hopefully you've seen. But for anyone just starting out, it's going to be the next to the bottom string on the 1st fret. That's why it's a C. Well, one reason it's a C. The 3rd fret, next string from the top, that's really why it's a C. That gives you your bottom root C. And then 2nd finger, 2nd fret, 3rd string down, and you leave out the top string. Hopefully you've seen that one. That's one of the first ones you usually learn. I think that's all of the chords. Yep. So I'll try and go through it one time. This is my first time looking at it, so I may go slow, but I'll try and halfway go through it. Let's see. She hates my she hates my she loves to she hates the things I do. She loves to lie beside me almost every night. She's away, she's preacher. Yeah, got ahead of myself, sorry. The preacher sorry. The preacher asked her, and she said, yes, I do. The preacher asked her, she said, yes, I does too. The preacher said, I pronounce your name tonight. Son, she's no lady, she's young. I can't remember how I met her. Seems like she's always been hanging. I'll stop there with this one and pick up here next time. Let's see. The next one I wanted to look at is coming around again. Let's see. This one should be even easier than the last one because it even has some of the chords we just saw. The C we just talked about is the first one. A minor 7. We saw A minor. The only difference is if you take that A minor that I just went through and you pick up your ring finger, that makes it a 7, A minor 7. So you start off with the shape of the A minor and just pick up your ring finger and have A minor 7. Now they have one called F sus 2. Sus stands for suspended. 2 refers to the note in the scale. So they're letting you know they've altered the F. The version they're showing is use your index tip to grab the bottom 2 strings on the first fret. And then they're showing 3rd fret, 3rd string from the top. I'm going to try using my ring finger. And you leave out the top 2 strings. Back to A minor 7. Back to what we just saw, the F sus 2. Back to C. A minor 7. F sus 2 again. And C. And then a standard F, which the only difference is now we do the standard shape. So on the 2nd fret, put your 2nd finger on the 3rd from the bottom string. Everything else stays exactly where it had been for the F sus 2. So that's the difference between an F and an F sus 2. F, you would include the bottom 2 strings on the 1st fret, use your ring finger on the 3rd string from the top on the 3rd fret, and then 2nd finger, 3rd string from the bottom on the 2nd fret, that's an F. And then if you pick up your 2nd finger, it makes it the F sus 2. Then they show D minor. So that's a standard D is what we saw earlier, where you have your index finger would be on the 2nd fret, 3rd string from the bottom, and your 2nd finger would be on the bottom string, 2nd fret, and you'd use your ring finger on the 2nd string from the bottom, 3rd fret. That's a standard D. To make it minor, we're going to keep the top 2 locations. We're going to change which fingers we're using, but those top 2 locations are still going to be fretted. But we're going to move the bottom string up physically on the fretboard, but in the scale of things, in terms of musically, the reason it's called minor is we're going down, so it makes it just like a flat makes it minor when you go down 1 fret. Makes it a flat when you go down 1 fret. This is going to cause a similar effect and causes it to be a minor. So I'm going to now use my index finger on the bottom string on the 1st fret. I'm going to have the same location at the top, the 2nd fret, 3rd string from the bottom, but I'm going to use my 2nd finger now. And you can either use your ring finger on the original location. I'd probably use my pinky because my hands aren't that big and flexible. So I'll say use your pinky on the 3rd fret, 2nd string from the bottom. And then you include the 4th string from the top, which is the open D string. That makes it a D minor. They have B flat sus 2. So a B flat, this would be a B. You're supposed to play it like this, but my hands aren't that big, so I tend to cheat. And I tend to start with the normal part of using your index finger to fret the 2nd fret, except for the top string. And then I tend to use my ring finger to also bar the 4th fret starting at the third string from the top, and I try my best to exclude the bottom string because that would be correct. So that would be a B. A B flat, you simply take that shape and shift it down one fret. And then to make it a B flat sus2, they're leaving out that next to the bottom note here. So for this, since I'm now only having to fret these two strings, it's actually going to be a little easier just to use my ring finger and index finger. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. My ring finger and my pinky. And that makes it a B flat sus2. Okay, we see the standard F again that we just saw. We see the B flat sus2 again. In case I confused anybody, the B flat sus2 is you would be barring the first fret except for the top string. Use your ring and index. Said it again. I meant to say your ring and pinky, third fret, the two middle strings. And leave out the top string. They have F again. Then they have one that's a little different. They're calling it F/E minor. I'm sorry, F/E flat. So hopefully you saw the first part of this. So we now know what slash means. It means we're changing the root of the chord. And the little B looking symbol means flat, which physically means you're moving it down probably a little from the standard shape. Sometimes it's a little, you have to play it differently because of the location, but in general, that's usually what it means. Here's what they're showing for this. So this chord is called F/E flat, and they're showing this being played on the first fret. I'm going to use my index finger to bar everything but the top two strings. And then on the second fret, I'm going to try using my second finger to fret the third string from the bottom on the second fret, and then I'm going to leave out the top two strings. Then they show E flat. This one is shown on the third fret. There's different versions of E flat, but this one they're playing is use your tip of your index finger at the bottom of the third fret to grab the bottom three strings. Use your second finger on the fourth fret to grab the next to the bottom string. And then on the fourth, I'm sorry, that was on the fourth fret. On the fifth and sixth frets, respectively, use your ring and pinky to grab the third and second strings from the top and leave out the top string when you strum it. I just noticed my camera's not in a great position. I'll try and find a better way so you can see a little better. But hopefully me verbally saying it helps. The next one is a little tricky. It's C minor 6. I'm going to have to think for a second which finger to use where. So on the third fret, I'm going to try and figure out what to do first. Let's see. I'm going to try with my second finger on the third fret, second from the top string. On the second fret, that was the third fret. On the second fret, they're showing the third from the bottom string on the second fret. I'm going to try my index finger for that. On back to the third fret, they're showing the bottom string. I'm going to use my ring finger for that. And then for the fourth fret, they're showing the second from bottom string. I'm going to try my pinky for that. And they're showing leaving out, they have X's on the top and third from the top string. The top X means just don't strum the top string. The third one means since your second finger is kind of arced over that string, it's going to accidentally get muted and you don't hear it. Okay. Now they're showing D/C. So we know what /C means. On the second fret, they're showing using the tip of your index finger to grab the bottom strings on the second fret, the bottom 3 strings, I'm sorry. On the 3rd fret, they're showing next to the bottom string. I'll use my second finger for that. And then they're showing on the 4th fret, they're showing the next from the top string. You could either use your pinky or you could use your ring finger, whatever makes sense. I'll probably end up trying it both ways once I try and learn this further, just to see which makes more sense. Now they're showing F/A, but this one's easy because all you have to do for this is it's the same shape we saw for the F. What makes it a /A is you include the next to the top string, which is an open A. Okay. They then have C/E, so we know what /E means. So this is easy. You normally would play a C that we saw earlier. But so you put your index finger on the same starting location. But to make it a /E, you're going to put your second finger or your 3rd finger, I'm going to try my second finger, on the D string on the 2nd fret. That's what makes it the /E. And you leave out the top 2 strings. So if it was a standard C, so the difference between a standard C and a C/E, this is a standard C we saw earlier. If I pick up my ring finger and exclude the top 2 strings, it's now a C/E. That's a C. It's just a tiny bit higher pitch, just not a big difference actually. Maybe if you're strumming real hard or playing on a loud electric amp, you can hear it better. Let's see, they then show the same C/E again, C again, A minor 7 again, F sus2 again, and C again. And that's it, I think. Let's see, is there anything that I missed? Nope, we covered all the chords. I'll try and see how far I can get through this one the first time. I tend to get tripped up when I hit some of those descend coda symbols. If you've ever looked at sheet music, you'll know what I mean. So on my first pass through, when I run into one of those, like I did a moment ago on the Lyle Lovett song, I tend to just stop there for the first time through because I have to be honest, the trick I've found, and it might help you, I just let myself go listen to the song while looking at the sheet music, and it helps me remember which symbol they're referring to. There's 2 or 3 different ones, and I can never remember which one they're referring to. So if that helps you. So I'll try and go through this one time. It's just as a reminder, it starts with C. A minor 7, F sus2, C, and the words start. A, B, C, Z, A minor 7, F sus2, back to C. So A minor 7. So F sus2. So C. And then F. I know stays the same. D minor. If you're willing to play the game, B flat sus2. It's coming again. F. So F/E flat. chord C minor 6 that we saw. I'll come back to those. Those are a little tricky. Pick up with F/A. There's no C/E. Okay. And it goes back to the beginning. A minor 7. Fix the toaster. E sus2. Kiss the C. And you break out 7. C sus2. C. D minor 7. If you're willing to play the game, B flat sus2. It's coming around again. F. F/E flat. I'm going to skip those again and go straight to the F/A. C/E. C. A minor 7. What else can I do? F sus2. And so C. F. Stays the same. D minor. But if you're willing to play the game, B flat sus2. F. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that helps someone that's just starting out learning. Thanks.